We have Texas versus Baylor ×2. Will this be the first college football playoff without the Crimson Tide and those cheating Stros? Don't go anywhere. This is College Crossfire.
I don't think a girl has won Crossfire in like a good year at least.
Oh, wow.
So it's
all
on
right, the
Zach.
pressure is. So that means our winner tonight is Jaxie. Congratulations. Take it away.
So I would like to give my FaceTime to my family. I miss them all. We are all spread out all over the...
I guess we'll get into it. Always enthusiastic, unbelievable, hard-nosed.
All right, let me explain why Aaron Judge is getting it. You can boo me all you want.
I knew Texas was going to win, and then one of the Texas team was going to lose.
Hammy. I don't like the Hammy.
Oh, you don't like this guy?
All right, I'm done. This is all chaos.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. I'm your host, Turner Barnes. We got a great panel, but before we talk to the panel, TSTV is hosting a fundraiser to purchase more equipment in order for us to provide our lovely viewers, y'all, with great content every week. Please refer to our social media pages for more information if you would like to help support student voices. All right, you saw it in the intro, the all-women panel.
Yeah!
Returning champion, Jaxie. Jaxie, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Ready to take home another win for the ladies.
All right. Jocelyn Maldonado at second base. Jocelyn, how are you doing?
I'm feeling great. You know, I'm just glad to be here in an all-women panel.
All right. And on third base, Christine Taylor. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I think this is the first time y'all have gotten me on air 2 weeks in a row, so that's exciting.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's jump right in. The Texas Longhorns got a taste of their own medicine as Iowa State kicked a 36-yard field goal as time expired to win the game. Texas was underwhelming in Ames, producing just 5 first downs in the first 2 quarters. While the second half looked a little better, it wasn't enough to overcome the first half woes. So what went so wrong on Saturday for Texas?
I have one word for you, and it's inconsistency.
Ooh.
You know, first the people, they're complaining about the defense underperforming, and then it takes like 3-4 games, maybe a whole season almost, for the defense to finally put on their performance shoes and hold the conference team down to 23 points. But then when that happens, offense underperforms. So really, this team has been inconsistent with a touch of bad luck, and that's what happened in Ames, in my opinion, today.
Well, I think that Iowa State is one of the better teams in the Big 12. They do have 4 losses. However, 3 of those 4 losses were by 2 points or less. In Ames, the lineup of cold weather, tough defense, and an efficient quarterback was a recipe for disaster for Texas. Texas has a really talented offensive line as well as running backs, and to only be averaging 2.1 yards per carry in the game, that's inexcusable. Also, Brock Purdy completely outplayed Sam Ehlinger in this game. He's really young, only a sophomore, and the way he played definitely has NFL potential. Another fun fact in this game, at one point, Texas had more punts than points. They had 8 punts and 7 points at one point in this game. So that further shows that they were outplayed on both sides of the ball from Iowa State.
Yeah, going off of the Iowa State, I think Iowa State was severely underrated going into this game. I think Texas went in a little too overconfident coming off of that TCU game with Iowa State. Even the players admitted after that last drive with the offsides call that they were getting too excited and thinking that they had already won, which is insane because it was a 1-point game, and that's definitely not solidifying a win. But beyond the defensive problems, which everyone has talked about every week, the running game was not there. 27 yards total put up by running backs on the Texas side. The other 27 were Sam Ehlinger. And while I love when Sam runs the ball, that shouldn't be half of your rushing yards in any game. And I think that was really detrimental to them on those short third down runs. They were 3rd and 2, and they didn't make that. Then they really messed up a 4th down play in the red zone, which is insane to me because these are short runs, and the running game just was not there.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that everything that all of you said was correct is not a good recipe for Texas. I mean, everything that you guys said is true. I mean,
Yeah.
inconsistency, bad running. I mean, all over the place, all over the place. Iowa State's better than people thought they were. All of it combined to a not great time for the Texas Longhorns. So all of you guys are starting with 4 points for the first question. That's a really good start. All right. After a Sugar Bowl victory over Georgia, Texas was ranked number 10 coming into the season. As we all know, hindsight is 2020, so obviously this Texas team was overrated over the course of the season, but were they overrated at the beginning of the season? As in, did they deserve that number 10 spot coming into this year?
So I'm really passionate about this question.
Bring it.
I do not think Texas was overrated coming into the season. They deserved that number 10 ranking with the way that they played at the end of last season. I think what was not taken into account with the rankings once the season started was how many players that the team lost at the end of last year, as well as the fact that they did play like a solid Texas team in those first 2 games of the season against La Tech and LSU. Now we know LSU is number 1, so losing by 1 touchdown, really not the end of the world for Texas. But the team also lost actually pretty much all of their defensive starters this season. So do they currently deserve it? No, but that was an unforeseeable event that happened to this team. So with the way the team was, in an ideal world, they deserved that.
Yeah, I think after coming off that Sugar Bowl high and having a young defense, it just already in and of itself, you can tell they're not playing up to their full potential that they could be playing at. And Sam Ehlinger also isn't he's a bit more inconsistent than usual, which doesn't help Texas's cause. So they are a very talented team, or should I say they have talented players that need to come together and gel, and they haven't quite done that yet. And the uncalled for injuries, those don't help either. So they do need to come together as a team, and I feel like further along, maybe in a year, they will be able to execute better.
You know, Turner, I really don't have much to add after this, but literally what happened here was Texas came in strong coming off last season, and what happened was the conflicts that happened with the defensive players getting hurt. So Texas had a hard time adapting to that, in my opinion, and that's what caused them all to get shaken up, all the players, and they're just having a really bad time adapting right now to all of those things. That's what brings you back to the inconsistency part I talked about earlier.
Yeah, going back to your inconsistency part, and I like the added, they're not playing up to their potential. Because we've seen, as viewers, this Texas team, throughout the season, there are glimpses of this team could be a top 15, top 10 team.
But they're just so young.
They're so young, injuries, going back to what you were saying, with all the injuries and a lot of unforeseen things running into a freight train that is LSU. So everybody got points, obviously, but Jaxie, you're at 7. Jocelyn, you're at 6, and Christine, you're at 8. All right, moving on. Being one of multiple Longhorns who jumped offsides to give the Cyclones a first down and in turn run out the clock, Malcolm Roach took responsibility in his post-game presser. But how much are the players to blame versus this Texas coaching staff to blame?
Well, the high-level coaching staff is missing that element of surprise to their opponents. Their game play, like every play is so predictable. Pretty much anyone can tell what they're doing. They also fail to mask their weaknesses. The coaching staff should be able to move around the roster and create a winning combination regardless of injuries. So while I do think the coaches should take a good part of the blame, it still is the players ultimately that need to execute successfully.
I agree with that part, that the players need to execute. I do feel to a certain extent after the players fail to execute on a certain set of plays, maybe the defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator need to reevaluate what plays they are handing these players. On that end, though, I do think that the coaching staff is partially to blame for Sam Ehlinger's inconsistency this season. I think that Sam being told not to be a rough quarterback, which as we saw last year, does work for Sam. Sam is able to kind of just go into all those defensive players and run and get yards. But Coach Herman did warn Sam not to do that. And now we rarely see Sam run the ball. And when he does, he hesitates. And that's something that Sam was not last year. Sam was very confident because he felt comfortable in what he was executing. I do think coaching staff has a big role in that.
I've thought about this a lot, and it all really just comes back to the coaching for me, because when you're performing in a game, the coaches see the whole field. They even have people up in the booth. So for the players to take the blame doesn't really make sense to me, because I still see that passion in the players. Malcolm Roach came out and did that little segment being raw and taking up the responsibility, but you could see that he was still like hurt by the loss. And if people doubt that, like for example Sam Ellinger's lack of emotion, it's because he's also matured. You can't just dwell in a loss, and because that will hinder your performance in the future. So these players have matured. They're ready to move forward. And to me, it comes down to the coaches, because they are hired for their football intellect, I assume. So they should be able to react and change up the plays when other coaches do a certain thing.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that point. Like, throughout the course of the season, you have not seen this Texas team give up, and I think that is a point in their favor. They try every game. They fight back whenever they're down, but coaches are in the booth. They see the whole field. Definitely need to make better adjustments. But we'll see next year. Maybe it'll happen next year. Maybe not. We'll see. All right, looking ahead, this Saturday, Texas heads up to Waco, where the Baylor Bears just blew a huge lead over the Oklahoma Sooners. So what are your predictions for Texas this weekend against Baylor?
If they bring up all their emotions into the field and work hard, I can see them possibly coming out with a win. That's just a hot take for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Baylor's pretty good this season, so I'm on the edge.
I've never not picked Texas in one of these questions, so it's really hard for me. But I think if Texas gives it their all, they could be closer to winning.
Yeah.
However, ultimately, I do think Baylor has been very successful at winning this season. I don't know if that means they're the best team in the Big 12, but I think that they've been successful at winning. So,
Yeah, in rivalry games, Texas tends to play up to their competition, so that's a cool thing for them. But also, this less talented Baylor team is executing better. Somehow they manage to pull off the win every time, except for one, clearly. But Texas has the upper hand in terms of talent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And also, fun fact, Texas has won every game after a loss.
Ooh.
So I think this game will be close, but I think that pattern will continue, and Texas will pull off this upset.
All right, so we got 2 wins and a loss.
I know.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, unbiased journalism right there. All right, so heading into the break, Jaxie, you're in the lead at 12, and Jocelyn and Christine right behind her with 11. When we come back, the panel debates how to punish the Astros and if Alabama can keep the streak alive.
So what about...
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to College Crossfire. Before we get back to business, let's remind the audience of the score. Jaxie in the lead with 12, Jocelyn and Christine at 11. Okay. So close, right behind her. Close game. All right. Speaking of close games, the #1 Texas Longhorn volleyball team is playing the #3 Baylor Bears in Waco right now in a battle for the Big 12. Texas is currently undefeated in conference play, and Baylor's only loss on the season came in Gregory Gym. So we got to do a what-if game. If Texas falls short tonight, should they still get a top 4 seed in the tournament?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of these teams are national powerhouses. They both deserve to be there. It was so interesting to see that first sweep that Texas had over Baylor, because it was such a highly anticipated game, and the way that Texas executed that was very impressive. But I think it was an off night for Baylor, and they do both deserve a top 4 spot.
Okay, so yes, and keep Baylor in there also?
Yes.
Dude, I agree as well, because if you look on the rankings, after the top 4, it goes to Stanford, which is 20-6, something like that. Y'all can fact check me. But it's a more half and half type spread. But Texas only has a 19-1. So if they lose, it's 19-2, and they're still super far ahead Stanford, and they beat Stanford in the preseason. So I think if Texas loses, they'll still be a top 4. They still deserve it. They've been dominating every game, and they beat Baylor pretty easily at home, in my opinion. So I see them in the top 4.
Yeah,
Christine?
I agree with both of you. I mean, I don't see why Texas would be knocked out of the top 4 for a loss to Baylor when Baylor's only loss is to Texas. When Baylor lost to Texas, they didn't drop out of the top 4. So it wouldn't make any sense for Texas to drop from 1 out of the top 4 after losing to Baylor. Just to me,
Agreed.
that's not even possible.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This Texas team has been number 1 for a while. Very good Texas volleyball team. But Jocelyn, you're going to get the point. I think with Stanford, you haven't beaten a bunch of nobodies and Baylor. You've beaten some really good teams so far this year. So, I mean, you got to stay in the top 4 if you're this Texas team. So, Jocelyn, you're getting the point. You're now at 12, tied with Jaxie for the lead.
Tied up.
All right. Last week, reports came out that claimed the Houston Astros were using a camera in center field to electronically steal pitch signs and relay them to their batters. Since the reports, people all over have posted videos of apparent evidence citing a mysterious bang coming just before certain pitches. So what should the MLB do to punish the Houston Astros?
Cheating.
Jocelyn, start with you.
Oh my goodness, I've thought about this, and one, pow down on the security, make sure it doesn't happen again. But in terms of for the Astros, what they should do is beyond my intellect right now, but I'm pretty sure they will get a big fine or something. I don't think they should take away their rings because they didn't do that to like football, the New England Patriots. So what they should do is, I don't know an answer for that, but what I think will happen is a fine. And honestly, I can't wrap my head around how this differs from like other sports. Like in basketball, you can easily like catch up on what plays they are doing because they're just a couple of feet away. The coaches are yelling. So it's hard to wrap my head around baseball kind of doing the same. It is cheating, it is wrong, but other sports kind of pick up on the plays as well, so it's hard to wrap my head around that.
Yeah,
But
and
y'all's
it's definitely something we haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
So I totally understand not being able to fully, and I just still, I mean, I don't think anybody fully understands the gravity of and how much they've been doing it. Christine?
Yeah, I don't think that this impacted them winning, but I do think their title should be taken away. I think when you cheat, that is such an unethical way of winning anything.
Integrity.
There's
no academics in it.
To me, if this happened in college sports, it would be revoked. So why is the MLB? There needs to be accountability in professional sports. Right now, we need to see that from the Astros. The Astros have had some iffy weeks the past few weeks with some really big controversial things happening. They are currently the only team suspected by the MLB of doing this, and it's the 1 year that they won the World Series. I don't think they should have gotten that title because of it.
Agreed with Christine. As far as repercussions, I think that they should be taking away draft picks and making them ineligible for postseason next year. And a strong message has to be sent. Cheating is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form at all. Like, just not acceptable. And they need to have significant consequences in order to like deter this behavior in the future.
Yeah, I like everybody's points. Christine, I like your point about they're the only team that's suspected of doing this. You can't even use the everybody did it argument. But Jaxie, I'm going to give you the points because stripping away a title, it's kind of like the USC Trojans. Everybody knows they won the title, and some people forget that it even got stripped away. So that I don't know if that would be enough, but
not even a consequence.
Barring them from postseason play would be huge for this Astros team. So Jaxie, you're going to get the point on that one. That's harsh. Putting your fist down. All right. In a controversial call, Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suited up against Mississippi State weeks after an ankle injury. Tua continued playing for the Tide even after Alabama took a lead and was eventually knocked out for the season with a hip injury. Since the inception of the college football playoff system, the Crimson Tide have participated every single year, and with the deck already stacked against them, is this the year we don't see Alabama in the college football playoff? Christine.
I think this might be the year that we don't see Alabama. I think that certain things have to happen for Alabama to end up in the playoff that currently, with Tua being out and potentially momentum being down, is not as high of a chance as people might suspect. I do think Oregon and Utah are a little bit underrated right now, as well as becoming a top 4 contender.
Go Ducks.
Beyond that, I mean, they have to lose to Auburn to like not have a chance in the top 4. And people are like saying that it's an easy win for Alabama. I'm not sure that it is with the way the team is going right now with Tua out. So we'll see.
Yeah, Jaxie?
While Alabama could make it to the playoffs, they don't control their own destiny, and the loss of Tua definitely does not help.
Yeah.
They also have a weaker strength of schedule than a lot of the other top teams. So if teams like Oregon or Georgia win out, they most likely won't be able to make it to the playoffs.
Bulldogs.
So yeah, that's my hot take.
Yeah.
My hot
Jocelyn?
take is that I see Alabama still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because you need an offense and a defense to win a game. And so the quarterback does perform the plays for the offense, but you still need defense to stop the plays from the other team. And Nick Saban is pretty good at recruiting, in my opinion. So I don't see what the problem is with having quarterback gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, Nick Saban, don't count against him, but Christine, Jaxie, y'all are right. They don't control their own destiny, and I think that's the difference. In Auburn's going to be a big game. This Auburn team is really good.
It's tougher than people think.
This Auburn team is really good. So,
Yeah.
Christine, you're going to get the point.
Christine.
All right, at the end of 2 rounds, Jaxie, 13, Jocelyn and Christine, 12. Very close game. Great debate. Rapid fire is coming up next. Stick around because it is sure to get heated.
Yeah.
It's a Facebook FaceTime exclusive. Christine, you have the stage. It's all
Never
yours.
won before, so I wasn't ready. Well, shout out to the fam that's watching, mom, dad, nanny, hi, Roger, my baby boy, I miss you. But also shout out my New York Giants. I stand by you. Let's look forward to next season. Eli Manning was never the problem, and we're gonna leave it at that.
All right. Christine getting her hot takes in. Atta girl, Christine. Thank you for this all. Let's get a round of applause for the all-women panel. All right, Christine will be maybe back on the show. Oh, no. Next week, we don't have a show. The week after is the Tournament of Champions. So all the people who scored the most points in this semester of College Crossfire will be on for an hour-long tournament, or 2 hour long, hour and a half? I don't know. Hour-long Tournament of Champions. Tune in 2 weeks. See you then. All right, welcome back to College Crossfire, and welcome in to Rapid Fire. Before we get started, let's remind the audience of the score again. We are at Jaxie. You're at 13. Jocelyn and Christine, you guys are at 12. And this is Rapid Fire. Every question is worth 2 points, and you know what that means. Say it with me. It is sure to get heated. All right.
You see,
Oh, I said that wrong. It's anybody's game. That was on me. I tried to make it cool. That's what I get for trying to be cool. All right, as we debated earlier, the Houston Astros have been stealing signs with a camera and a trash can. The Astros obviously got caught. But what would you guys do to steal signs in a way that you wouldn't get caught? Anybody can jump in.
Go spy mode, hire someone to, like, I don't know, be like a concession stand person.
Oh.
And just
Okay.
get some like insight in that.
Yeah,
Spy
all right.
mode.
So a
Spy
concession
mode's
stand
my
worker, all right. Concession stand spy, all right.
And like most professional games, actually they do it at UT too. The Longhorn herd, they have all those kids run out.
Oh.
You have all these kids run out, like the Longhorn herd per se, you know, and they all go out, and you don't know, which kid's watching at that time too. So.
Spy mode.
All right. That's a
I
good one
just
too,
say, I
Christine.
feel like giving any answer to this question would contradict the way I felt about it in the
That's
last
fair.
set of questions.
That's fair.
So,
This is hypothetical.
hypothetically, maybe just do it more subtly and have the
You hear that, Astros? Come on.
players actually like just catch on to the signs themselves. I mean, if the camera's catching them, someone that's on the field logically could catch them.
Yeah, all right, Christine throwing some shade at the Astros.
Do it better.
But I got to give the points to Jocelyn.
me
I love the concession stand worker. Maybe have a camera in the popcorn box, just zoom in a little bit. I love that. Incognito. All right, so Jocelyn, you're going to get the 2 points and take the lead. Hold on, all right.
by-
Cleveland Browns' Myles Garrett may have committed the most insane act of violence on a field since Randy Johnson obliterated a bird with a fastball. Garrett ripped off Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph's helmet and proceeded to hit him in the head with it. So other than a baseball bat or a helmet, what piece of sports equipment would you use in a fight? Try and be creative here.
Follow-up
Be
question.
creative. All right, what's up?
Effective or most fun?
Fun. Let's say fun. We don't want to condone any major bodily harm. What's a fun sports equipment you can use?
Soccer corner flag.
Oh, okay. Corner flag would probably hurt with some whiplash to
I'm
it.
doing a golf club for sure.
Oh,
Ooh, that's effective.
all right, that's effective.
Iron, not a driver. Drivers
Oh.
aren't as effective because it's a little lighter. So.
All right, going with some weight behind it. Okay, maybe a little angle on the iron.
A cleat?
A cleat.
Have you ever been cleated? I've been cleated.
I have a
playing
scar
track.
from being
It
cleated.
Hurts.
Track cleats. They
Being
have the
cleated
spikes.
hurts, but it won't kill you like maybe a golf club.
That's. I think a golf club is a little too intense.
You asked another sports
The
equipment.
fun side. I have a
Wait,
friend.
is this
All right,
a
I
fun-
have a friend who got his nose broken because somebody threw a cleat across the locker room. Shout out to Chris Cassidy. Thank you. All right, so Christine, you're gonna get the points. A cleat, not something you might think of. All right, yeah, all right, interesting. All right, as we discussed earlier, Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is out for the season with a hip injury. Before going into surgery, Tua played the ukulele to raise his spirits. So what would you do before going into season-ending surgery to help cheer you up?
Eat.
Eat. All right.
Yeah, if I didn't have to play a sport for the rest of the season, I didn't have to stay in shape or anything. Why wouldn't you just eat everything you wanted? Stress eating. It's functional.
Okay, all right. What about you?
I would throw a huge party with all my friends. I
Okay.
don't care if they see me like that. Everyone come hang with me. Bring food. Bring fun drinks. We are all going to hang out right before, you got to go down. But it's okay because everyone's there with you in your time of need.
Yeah. Jocelyn?
Before surgery, right?
Yeah,
it's
before
like
surgery.
Time can,
You're trying to build your spirits back up.
travel. But
Travel?
then again, that's like beyond the limit of surgery. Like you
Short
gotta have
term.
it.
Yeah, short term. What would you do?
Oh my goodness, eating is fun. So, oh God, I can't think right now. No, I'm gonna stick with travel.
Travel, okay.
What if it's a surgery that's like life-threatening?
Oh,
it was-
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
You could die in
But you
surgery.
can't leave. Tua couldn't leave.
He took a trip on a helicopter. He got to travel. All right. All right.
Is an airlift a travel?
that's a good point. It wasn't a fun vacation. All right, Christine, you're gonna get the point and the win. I mean, you don't have to play football anymore. You don't have to worry about the Auburn defenders chasing you down. Get some Chick-fil-A, get some Raising Cane's, anything you want.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the time we have for the night. Do we have time for FaceTime? No time for FaceTime. Congratulations to our winner, Christine. All right, remember, we do not have a show next week. We will be stuffing our faces with turkey. You do the same. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Be sure to check out College Press Box every Monday at 9:30 p.m. for the latest sports news on 40 Acres. Also, tune into the 1-0 Sports Show hosted by Thomas Fitch and Robert Trevino at 8 a.m. every Friday. Don't forget to follow at TSTV Sports on social media. And for all the panelists and everyone in studio and Master Control, have a wonderful Thanksgiving.